Dad, Mrs. Wilson. Thanks for inviting me to your couples therapy session. I think that we need to talk. More specifically, we need to talk about your upcoming divorce.
Oh, jeez.
Up until now, I thought you had the perfect relationship. There were no conflicting schedules, no cheating. I thought you both would end up like Jay-Z and Beyonce, but even that went wrong. Looking back, I couldn't think of a time you ever fought, and that's when it hit me. You both never fought. Whenever confronted with a problem, you both always took the high road. Well, the high road turned out to be a cliff, and you seem to have fallen right off the edge. This led me to realize that conflict isn't always a bad thing. In fact, healthy conflict can strengthen your relationships and shouldn't always be viewed in such a negative light. Therefore, I would like to talk about how conflict avoidance is a major problem, some of its causes, and their effects. An article by Christina Rinaldi and Nina Howe states, initially, conflict was defined in purely destructive terms, and it was not until research from the cognitive developmental field suggested otherwise that social scientists began to consider how conflict may be a healthy component of social development. Conflict, which was once regarded as only unempathetic, uncooperative, and hostile, can actually help your relationship mature and evolve to a point where you can voice out your opinions without fear of dismissal and resentment. And this doesn't just include marital conflicts. Problems being avoided in the workplace, in friendships, family situations in order to keep the peace can build up over time and cause passive aggressiveness that leads to all other sorts of issues, like divorce. A paper written by M. Carol Pistol and Frank Arakale on Understanding Attachment Beliefs About Conflict states, conflict is an inevitable natural process in important romantic relationships and can contribute positively to the relationship's creation and stability. However, particularly when unresolved, conflict contributes to frustration, disaffection, and disillusion. The inability to manage conflict effectively harms a relationship. So now at this point, you may be asking yourself, if conflict avoidance is so bad, why do I do it? Well, let me take you into some of the most common causes of steering clear from the problems that should be addressed. Priya Parker, a group conflict resolution facilitator, once said, positivity prevents progress. When in a relationship, you try to do what makes your significant other happy, right? Be it telling them that dress doesn't make them look fat, or that they're actually good in bed. These are examples of conflicts that don't necessarily lead to a gap in communication, but majority of the time, more serious issues get ignored in an attempt to maintain a positive atmosphere, which inadvertently leads to passive aggressiveness, misdirected anger, and a lot more. You want to know what else is passive aggressive? Grandma.
Oh.
An article by Healthline states conflict avoidance is a type of people-pleasing behavior that typically arises from a deep-rooted fear of upsetting others. Many of these tendencies can be traced back to growing up in an environment that was dismissive or hypercritical. People who respond to conflict this way often expect negative outcomes and find it difficult to trust the other person's reaction. This got me thinking about last Thanksgiving, the situation with Uncle Jim. Yeah, I went there. You see, everyone has heard that saying, there's 3 things you don't talk about at family gatherings: politics, failed marriages, and money. Well, Uncle Jim makes it a point to talk about all 3 of them. The solution seems simple: don't invite Uncle Jim. But upon suggesting this to Grandma, she says, that will just create unnecessary problems. He's still part of the family. And I think there's a bit of a trend there regarding the dismissiveness, Mom. Another reason you might compromise your true emotions in social situations is fear. Fear regarding you being wrong or getting ignored. Fear regarding past experiences. Fear of hurting someone or losing them. These types of people can be referred to as peacekeepers. An article by Kimberly Patterson on The Bad Habit: Avoiding Conflict states, peacekeepers are phobic about the possibility of confrontation. They're paralyzed by the uncertainty of how things may turn out. They worry things will spin out of control and that people may say something that will permanently damage relationships, which is why I don't have a boyfriend. So-called peacekeepers often have a fear of confrontation, which leads to disharmony in their relationships. And this goes hand in hand with ineptitude regarding issues they have contrasting opinions on. Inadvertently, this causes a fair amount of damage to the various associations they may already have with people, especially their significant other, which once again, I don't have. The article goes on to say, peacekeepers say they put people's feelings first, but in reality, they put suppressing feelings first. Now that we've established some of the main causes of conflict avoidance, I believe we should in turn take a look at some of the effects. There's a term I'll be continually referencing throughout the entirety of the remaining part of my speech, and that is anger withdrawal, or as I like to call it, the 2020 Srinivas Thanksgiving. According to Fire and Ice Marital Communication, Hostile and Distancing Behaviors as Predictors of Marital Stress by Linda J. Roberts, anger withdrawal occurs in response to negative situations and can affect and indirectly communicate anger, hostility, rejection, or a combination thereof, and is generally precipitated by the perception of an attack by the partner. So many people avoid conflict to avoid having situations in which their partner might demonstrate such behaviors. But the lack of communication can result you into turning this into this person yourself. Another article, Avoiding and Attacking Conflict Resolution Strategies Among Married Couples, by Jennifer Marchand and Emily Hawk, states, conflict resolution strategies reflect interpersonal behaviors used to address disagreements that occur within the marital relationship. It's the negative attributes of conflict in particular that are common in distressed marriages and have been associated with marital dissolution. Now I'm Indian, so I gotta include some math in here, and I'm gonna do this by expressing this in an equation. A greater amount of unsolved issues is equal to a greater amount of unrest, which is equal to divorce, which is where you two are. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that this whole situation was avoidable, unlike some of the pressing matters that you both chose to ignore. Now you've given Uncle Jim something new to talk about next Thanksgiving. An article by Natalie Pizzol on why you need to stop avoiding conflict and what you need to do instead states, healthy conflict can provide a deeper understanding of people. It allows you to be vulnerable and express your true thoughts and feelings, when in turn, it can allow you to connect more effectively with people because you're able to look at them at a deeper level. It will also allow people to understand your boundaries, your morals, and your belief system. They will see what you're willing to stand for and what you're willing to compromise on, which is a lesson we can all benefit from. All right, that concludes the meeting. Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, for letting me come in during the day with my parents, mom, dad. I hope you remember the main takeaways. Conflict is unavoidable, and as long as you go about it in healthy ways, you'll be sure to find yourself creating a stronger bond in your relationship. Thank you.